My name is Christina Bennett, and if you had told me just a few years ago that my own husband and sister-in-law would conspire to poison me, I would have laughed. But life has a cruel way of exposing the people you trust the most. It all started on a warm Sunday morning in Nashville. I was sitting at my sister-in-law Nina's elegant dining table, where the family gathered once a month for brunch. Nina loved to host. Crystal glasses, fine china, expensive floral arrangements. Everything about her house screamed perfection, at least on the outside. That morning, James, my husband of 3 years, slid a steaming cup of coffee toward me. "Don't you want to try the coffee I made just for you, honey?" he asked. He smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile that warms you. It was strained, his eyes flat and cold. The coffee had a strange metallic scent that instantly turned my stomach. My instincts screamed at me not to drink it. I forced a polite smile. "How thoughtful of you," I said, though my chest tightened with unease. Nina sat across the table, absently stirring her own untouched coffee, watching me like a hawk. Then she smirked. "James has become quite the barista lately. He's been practicing different brewing methods. Just for you." The way she emphasized "for you" made my skin prickle. For anyone else, this moment might have seemed harmless, but I knew better. I had spent too many nights curled up in pain after meals shared at Nina's house, too many unexplained trips to the emergency room. The pattern was undeniable, though no one else seemed to notice. When James and I first married, things were different. He was charming, attentive, the kind of man who opened doors and remembered anniversaries. And Nina, she had welcomed me with open arms, calling me sister, helping plan our wedding, making me feel like I belonged. But soon after, the cracks began to show. At my bridal shower, Nina accidentally spilled red wine all over my white dress. At first, I brushed it off. Accidents happen, right? But it kept happening. Spilled drinks, misplaced paperwork, food that always tasted a little off when she prepared it. Then came the health scares. A dinner that left me violently ill, a cup of tea at Nina's house that sent me to urgent care with symptoms no doctor could explain. And every time, James was ready with excuses. "Maybe it was something you ate earlier. You must be catching a stomach bug. You're too stressed from work." But the truth was becoming clearer with every coincidence. That morning at brunch, I decided to test my suspicion. I lifted the coffee cup to my lips, pretending to sip while watching James and Nina closely. They exchanged a glance, a quick, guilty flash of recognition, and my heart raced. "I need to make a quick call for work," I announced, standing up. "Nina, do you mind if I use your study?" As I walked past her place setting, I deliberately stumbled. In the chaos, I switched our coffee cups. My pulse hammered in my ears. "Sorry about that," I stammered. "I'm such a klutz sometimes." Nina waved me off, but her eyes narrowed. I hurried into the study, leaving the door cracked just enough to see the dining table. My hands trembled as I clutched the doorframe, watching. Nina lifted the coffee cup to her lips. My breath caught in my throat. She sipped once, then again. Moments later, her hand began to tremble. She set the cup down, her face paling. "James, something's wrong." James leapt to his feet, knocking his chair over. "Nina, that wasn't supposed to be your cup." The words echoed in my skull. My worst fears confirmed. I stepped out of the study, phone recording in my hand. "What did you put in that coffee, James?" Nina collapsed, her body racked with violent tremors. James dropped to his knees beside her, panicked. "That wasn't meant for you, I swear." "Call an ambulance," Nina gasped. I dialed 911, my voice steady despite the chaos. "We need an ambulance at 1542 Maple Grove Drive. My sister-in-law is having a severe reaction to something in her coffee." Her eyes locked in mine. Fear replaced the cold calculation I'd always seen in them. "You switched. You knew?"
The dispatcher kept me on the line, but Nina's next words sent chills through me. This is your fault, James. You said it would only make her sick enough to miss the board meeting next week. You promised it wouldn't be traced. The board meeting. The Henderson account. The biggest client my firm had ever courted. The same account Nina had been chasing for months at her competing company. It all clicked. The tea, the breakfast, every mysterious illness. They weren't accidents. They were attacks. Sirens wailed outside. Paramedics rushed in and carried Nina onto a stretcher. James stood frozen, his world collapsing around him. At the hospital, toxicology tests confirmed it. Nina had ingested dangerous substances not found in ordinary food. Dr. Phillips, a sharp-eyed physician, looked grim. This isn't accidental. This is deliberate contamination. James tried to play innocent, following me down the hall. "Christina, you don't understand." I pulled up my phone, showing the text I had secretly forwarded weeks earlier. Messages between him and Nina, plotting to make sure she was out of commission before the Henderson presentation. Detective Mendoza soon arrived. She was calm but firm, asking me to recount everything. I handed her my phone, playing recordings I had secretly made. In one, Nina's voice was crystal clear. "The Henderson account is worth millions. Stick to the plan." Security seized both James and Nina's phones. Evidence bags later revealed small bottles of pharmaceutical testing compounds stolen through one of James's contacts. Detailed notes tracked every dose and reaction, like I had been their experiment. When confronted, Nina spat. "You ruined everything. Everyone wanted you instead of me. James said he could fix it." Dr. Phillips cut in, coldly. If Christina had drunk that coffee today, the dose would have been fatal. Both James and Nina were arrested on multiple counts: attempted murder, conspiracy, theft. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I sat in the courtroom every day, listening as the prosecution laid out their crimes. The recordings, the texts, the bottles of stolen compounds, Dr. Phillips' testimony about escalating doses. James avoided my gaze. Nina, once so polished and confident, looked small and broken. The jury returned quickly, guilty, on all charges. The judge's voice was firm. The premeditated nature of these crimes, committed against a family member over months, demands the maximum sentence. I watched them as they were led away in handcuffs. 1 year later, I stood at the Nashville Business Leaders Conference giving the keynote speech. The Henderson account, the one Nina and James tried to steal, had blossomed into multiple contracts. My career was thriving. I told the audience, success isn't just about talent, it's about integrity. Sometimes the greatest threats to our future come from those closest to us, but surviving them makes us stronger. As the crowd applauded, I thought back to that coffee cup, the metallic smell, the smirk on Nina's face, James's cold smile. They tried to poison me, to erase me. But instead, they lost everything. And me? I was still standing, stronger than ever. Because the best revenge is simply living well.